name, you've already testified, but again, please tell the jury your name.
Michelle Palmer.
Again, lead detective in the case, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We're winding down here. We're one of the a few loose ends here in terms of photographs. If I may first look at Sean. I'll show you first of all the photograph that's already been admitted and shown to the jury. State 64. People ready to put that back up in front of the jury. You recognize that as the bag collected from the home in Texas where Ms. Sesmas, her boyfriend, and the child that are identified as Sophia were found.
Yes.
That diaper bag, does it link back to other evidence that you were aware of as a lead detective in Wichita?
Yes.
I'll show you what's been marked as stage 23. Ask if you recognize the image depicted in that photograph.
Yes, sir.
What is that a photograph of?
This is a photograph of the diaper bag at Laura's baby shower.
And this is something that was provided to you by family during the course of the investigation, is that correct?
That's correct.
And does that diaper bag, it appears to be a gift to Laura during the course of that shower, does it appear to match the same diaper bag found in the home in Texas?
Yes, sir.
And with permission of State's Exhibit 23.
Okay, please break out objection, sir.
Objection to note of the rule in previous basis 23 will be did.
What is going on in that photo that appears to be Laura in the pink dress, that diaper bag on her lap, is that right?
Yes.
The same diaper bag that in your interview with Ms. Sesmas, she said she herself, Ms. Sesmas, carried Sophia out of the apartment on Brunswick to her black truck. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Jason. Speaking of the black truck, we've already heard testimony from officers who arrived at the scene on Brunswick, including a detective who had contact with a neighbor who had one of those doorknob cameras or a camera on his exterior door.
The doorbell camera.
Doorbell camera, excuse me. The jury saw video from that. You aware that a still image was taken from that same video?
Yes, sir.
And is that a photo there, State's Exhibit 26, that is a still photo of the black truck that can be seen driving in the parking lot there on North Brunswick in Wichita. Is that a still photo that shows that black truck?
Yes, sir.
You're going to watch the whole video again and I can see the still?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Move for admission to State's 26.
Without objection. Judge, without.
26 would be good. Also, there's going to be testimony momentarily from the detective who examined the cell phone. In the course of your investigation, did you become aware of the cell phone number that Manuel, the father of Sophia, Laura's boyfriend, the cell phone number that he utilized for his cell phone?
Yes, sir.
Please read that in the record, if you would, please.
316-821-0684.
Just a moment. Nothing else. Mr. Story?
Judge, may I approach the witness? And Judge, may we approach the witness? Detective Simpson, you participated in the interrogation of Ms. Sesmas along with Detective Vivas,
That's correct.
and that was in Dallas, Texas.
And I'm sorry, did you mean Ortiz Vines?
I think I did mean Ortiz Lines.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, that was in Dallas.
Okay. And Ms. Sesmas gives a number of pages of description of a man from Plainview. Is that correct, as you recall it?
That's correct.
This is, for lack of a better word, a narrative about kind of a hitman type figure who's going to go and help her.
That's correct, for lack of a better term.
Okay. And you were, unlike Detective Ortiz Vine, you were involved in many other aspects of this investigation.
That's correct.
He was involved only in the interrogation aspect there in Dallas, nothing more.
To my knowledge, yes.
So, in all of your other involvement in the investigation, was there anything that corroborated the existence of this Plainview man?
Not that I was made aware of.
No video or photo of a red car at the scene.
That's correct.
No suspected individual, the Plainview man.
That's correct. Not that I know of.
No corroborating text messages or WhatsApp communications.
Not to my knowledge.
You reached the conclusion that the Plainview man is just something that might have been invented during the interrogation.
A version of events, yes.
And in your investigation of the case, you not only uncovered no existence of the Plainview man, but nothing before the death of Miss Barca that indicated that there was a plan to involve the Plainview man.
A plant is in...
A plan.
Oh, a plan?
Yes.
I'm sorry, ask your question again, please.
Sure. Nothing before the death of Miss Barca that you find in your investigation that reflects that a Plainview man is part of some larger plan to commit this offense.
That's correct.
Additionally, you do receive some information in the interrogation about Laura Barca potentially giving this baby to Miss Sesmas. Is that part of the assertions that you received?
That was part of the information I received, yes.
But again, nothing in your investigation gives you any sense that that is consistent with objective reality.
That's correct. I didn't find evidence that the plan existed, or the agreement, rather.
You talked with Ms. Barca's husband, or fiance, and family, and you uncovered nothing that reflects that that is objective reality.
That's correct.
Do you ever get to a point where you can understand whether or not Ms. Sesmas sincerely believes that to be the truth?
Objection calls for a conclusion.
Sustained. Only foundation for your previous.
Certainly. Detective, do you, in your interrogations historically, sometimes encounter people who share things with you that are not objectively true?
Yes.
And are sometimes those things that the person knows to be untrue, but they still share them with you?
Yes, that happens.
And are they sometimes things that the person may believe to be true, even though they are not true, but they still share them?
I'm sure that occurs, yes.
You get a sense one way or the other in this case whether or not Ms. Sesmas is sharing with you regarding Laura Barca's intent to give this baby to you when she shares that with you. You get a sense one way or the other whether or not that is something Ms. Sesmas really believes to be true or something she just shares with you.
Objection, relevance of the detective's opinion, and also the relevance of the jury.
I can try and restate it.
Please do.
Thank you, Judge. You get a sense of the information learned in your interrogation and your subsequent investigation before and after that interrogation. Whether or not the information that Ms. Sesmas is sharing with you is something that she subjectively believes to be accurate or not.
I'll object.
What was the objection?
Same objection that it's, again, ultimately it's on speculation of the detective, which my argument is
Sustained that position.
And ultimately, you reach a point in your interrogation with Ms. Sesmas where you're no longer hearing assertions from her about the Plainview man that basically stops and a new narrative emerges.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you get to a point late in the interrogation where Ms. Sesmas stops making these assertions about Ms. Barker giving her the baby and a different narrative emerges?
She maintained Laura was going to give her the baby throughout, for the most part.
In your investigation, did you go both out to the house on the apartment on Brunswick and the house on Senate in Texas?
I went to the address on Senate in Texas, but I did not physically go to the address on North Brunswick.
And you've had a chance to review the investigation, the evidence that's been recovered.
Yes.
In your review, do you ever uncover a pre-written out plan by Ms. Sesmas regarding a commission of a premeditated murder?
No, I did not recover a written plan.
Let's talk a little bit about a different direction. In your experience as a detective, you aware that a number of people in the community have firearms.
Yes.
And even in our own community, a number of people have concealed firearms.
Sure, yeah.
Your experience in investigating a variety of crimes, your experience that events can occur very quickly in an alleged offense.
Yes.
And you ever encountered a case where an incident involved a handgun present in a location, even though that wasn't the original intent of the parties?
Objection, relevance.
Counsel approach.
Hi, this is Bob Bianchi for the Law&Crime Network. We are on the Yesenia Sesmas trial, 34-year-old woman accused of murdering a mom and taking a little baby, Sophia, who was 6 days old. We're at a sidebar right now. Lawyers leaning over the bench speaking to the judge about an objection to a question posed to a detective, the lead detective in the case, Michelle Palmer. I'm not really sure exactly what the massive argument is, but they look pretty relaxed. Either way, I don't think it's going to make a big difference. But we wanted to do a little bit of a voiceover here so that you at least had context as to what's happening inside this case. Today, we also listened to the testimony of what I believe to be a very crucial witness, Detective Ortiz, who took the defendant's statement. The lawyers are going back to their table. Let's resume the activity in court.
Detective Tennyson, at the apartment of Laura Barca, did law enforcement uncover any evidence that Ms. Sesmas lay in wait to ambush Ms. Barca?
No, not to my knowledge.
You did locate a shell casing at the apartment, you or the other officers?
That's correct, yeah.
Ms. Sesmas, according to your investigation, had not made any attempt to disguise herself as she went to Ms. Barca's apartment on November 16th.
That's correct.
No attempt to disguise herself or her vehicle when she went to the apartment on November 17th.
That's correct.
No evidence that she wore gloves at any point when she went to the apartment on November 17th or 16th.
That's correct.
Your belief is that she drove there in a vehicle that belonged to her own boyfriend.
That's correct.
Ms. Sesmas, in your investigation, did you uncover any information that reflected any attempt to destroy her cell phone handset, or her account information, or the information on her cell phone handset?
No, sir.
to interpret any information that Ms. Sesmas had gone into any of her online social networking accounts, either WhatsApp or Facebook or anything else, and attempted to destroy or obscure any of that information?
No, sir.
Nothing further here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rick.
Council asked if this Plainview man, the guy in the red Pontiac, was, the word council used was something that appeared to have been invented by Ms. Sespas during the interview. You know that line of inquiry?
Yes, sir.
In addition to, again, using his word, inventing the idea of a guy from Plainview, did she go into quite a bit of detail about this invented guy? A kiss tattoo on his neck, a La Vida Loco tattoo on his arm. He was bald-headed, Mexican, her word, 25 to 27, small mustache, white shoes. All of this detail that she provided about this invented man. Is that all accurate?
Yes, sir.
You were asked if you found any evidence that there had been a pre-written plan by Yesenia Sesmas to state my intent to premeditatedly kill somebody. You didn't find that.
No, sir.
Did you expect to?
No, sir.
You found no evidence. You were asked of an ambush. Again, the word counsel used. Remember that question?
Yes, sir.
Did you have evidence, though, that she'd come by the day before, learned that Lupe, the mother, grandmother of Sophia, would be gone, and then well would be at work? That she'd asked if there was security in the complex. Was that all information you had?
Yes.
And that the next day when she returned, she had a gun, this defendant?
Yes.
She managed to put the gun in contact with Laura's forehead.
Yes.
The seal was broken at the top, but in contact.
I'm sorry.
Still cross.
I will overrule the objection that if we are going to go into this area and ask a little less correct, a little less leading.
Yes, sir. When asked though by counsel about an ambush, were you aware of any evidence that Ms. Sesmas had managed to put the gun in contact with the victim?
Yes.
With respect to an effort by Ms. Sesmas to get rid of her handset or her cell phone, counsel asked you that. Were you aware that there was anything in terms of communication after the shooting had taken place, where Ms. Sesmas sent some communication back to Laura thereafter?
I learned that later, but yes,
Sure.
I was made aware of it.
Something about the state of Indiana.
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
I just know that after, I don't know the time frame, after Laura's death, there was a message sent from Sesmas's phone to Laura's phone indicating that Sesmas was heading up to Indiana.
Did you have any indication from the FBI and they're pinging her phone or anything that would indicate Ms. Sesmas actually ever turned north and went toward Indiana?
No, sir.
You were asked about whether people sometimes say things that aren't true, that they live in the true. Any that question?
Yes.
I objected, but you please acknowledge sometimes that does happen.
Yes.
In your interview through the interpreter, Detective Ortiz, how much previous to the shooting did Ms. Sesmas say she got from the gun?
About 3 to 4 weeks prior.
Did she say why?
She got it in case she had to threaten Laura.
That she would need to, that she might need to threaten her
That's correct.
to do what?
She didn't go into great detail, but in getting the baby.
Did she express concern about getting caught after the shooting had taken place?
Yes.
Did she express any concern about there's maybe some risk that she put herself in by all the photos she had sent out of Sophia to friends and family?
Yes, she told me about that.
You worried that might come back to her?
That's correct.
Did you ask a question about how she felt after she shot Laura?
I did.
What was the question?
I don't remember the specific question, if you have a page number.
115? And that's the number transcript right in front of you?
They're both numbered, sirs.
How about the one in front of you?
Okay. Yes, I asked her, you felt good to grab that, or it felt good to get that baby, didn't it?
Just to clarify, this is after the shooting, after she shot Laura.
That's correct.
It felt good to grab that baby.
That's correct.
What was her answer?
Yes.
Detective Tennis, in the context of Ms. Sesmas saying that it felt good to grab the child, occurs after Ms. Sesmas says that she had basically forgotten the child was there and remembered.
I don't recall those words. Do you have a...
Feel free to look at the top of the page that you're on. It should be there. If that helps. Just read it to yourself. Is that what you see?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And then after you felt good to grab that girl, Ms. Sesmas explains that she asked Laura to forgive her. Is that what you see there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Redirect.
One question. After asking Laura to forgive her, what did she do with Sophia?
That she put Sophia in the diaper bag and took her out to the truck and left.
Smart. Jesse Waller, thank you very much. You said that. Excuse me.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. We just listened to the lead detective in the case. Very brief examination, in my opinion, not as important as the Dallas one. Listen, like I've said before, it's the only network that's dedicated to live trials all the time. My time with you has ended, and I really do mean, parting is such sweet sorrow. I love these cases. Thank you so much for your support online. And so we'll be back later in the week. Aaron Keller, the master of the Law and Crime Network, is going to be hosting after me. I hope you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you later in the week. Thank you.
Someone's going to testimony about being the case now hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got it.
Permission partner. Good afternoon. Can you introduce yourself to the jury?
I am Detective Hans Asmussen.
Where are you presently assigned, sir?
I am with the Wichita Police Department, and I am assigned to the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force, the Digital Forensics Unit.
As part of the digital forensics unit, what does it take to become a detective in that unit?
Well, first I had to be promoted from the rank of officer to detective, so you have to be a detective in the police department. And then there's a process that when a vacancy happens for applicants to go through, and where there's questioning by a interview panel, and then they take into account any training you've received at that point, and then how long you've been on the department, and other things go into it for a matrix, and then a selection is made.
How long have you been with the police department before you made detective?
Before I made detective, it was right at 5 years.
And were you a detective for a period of time prior to becoming your present assignment?
Yes, I was a detective for almost 10 years before I was assigned to the forensics.
So you've been with the police department for over 15 years.
At the time then, yes.
How long have you been with your present assignment?
Almost 8 years.
Not great with math, but that's over 20 years, right? Total with the department?
For the department, yes, I've been with the department for 22 and a half years.
As part of your job responsibilities, are you tasked with investigating digital evidence?
Yes.
What type of training have you gone to be familiar with searching and doing reports on digital evidence?
Well, I've received close to 600 hours of training over the years, starting at about 2001 to current. After I was assigned to the Digital Forensics Unit, I went to a 2-week training on computer forensics through the International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists. After that 2-week training, I then went through a certification program which included 4 months of what is called peer review. So I had a coach assigned to me. I worked a problem set each month for 4 months. And after I was guided through that, I then, on my own, had to take a 100-question exam, and then I had to examine a piece of quote-unquote evidence that was given to me and answer a worksheet for a pass-fail score. Once I did that, I received my computer forensic examiner certification.
Now, in forensics, I've heard that used with like fingerprints and physical evidence, but how does that apply to digital evidence? In forensics, talk about digital evidence. What does it really mean?
So in digital evidence, we go through processes that can be duplicated by another examiner. So in the case of computer forensics, when you have hard drives, the people understand they're in a computer where all the data is stored at. We first take the hard drive. It's connected into our computers in such a way that none of the data can be altered by our computer system. And then we use what are called hash values, which are what you could be analogous to like a digital fingerprint. So it's a real big math equation that all the data is run through, and then this large number with letters and numbers in it is outputted. We use that before we acquire the information from the hard drive, and while that is being acquired, that same data is ran through the same math equation, and then afterwards the same thing will happen again, and then we make sure all those match, so it shows that there's been no alteration to the data. And then the process that I go through with all of my tools, there's a documentation that goes along with it, and another examiner could use the same tool and follow the processes I did and come to the same conclusions of what was found. When it comes to like cell phones and other things that we call mobile data devices, there's different processes that go into that instead of a computer because of the way they store information.
Let me pause and just kind of clarify. You gave us a lot of information there. Part of what you're trained to do is not alter evidence, right?
Correct.
Part of it also is to follow a process by which someone else trained in a similar discipline can duplicate your work.
Correct.
So you're not inventing anything, you're just using tools to get to a predictable result.
Correct.
Can you discuss, you were starting to talk about digital devices. What makes digital devices different than, say, a computer?
So in a digital device, typically we do not remove the memory storage media where the information on your phone is stored. In a computer, we will take the hard drive out and connect directly to it to acquire its data. In a cell phone, the typical way of doing it is connecting the cell phone up to either a device or a computer through an adapter that acquires the data from the computer. The software that we use, it does not alter any of the user's data that is stored in that memory chip. Instead, depending on how we have to do the extraction, because all the different cell phones are different from each other because of all the different manufacturers and then the operating systems that run them, and then another thing that's called firmware. That's the piece that allows the software that you see on your phone communicate with the hardware on it. There's so many variations of it that there's different ways that we have to go about to acquire this data. So in some of the methods, the device that we use, and the one we use primarily is the Celebrite UFED, and it's spelled UFED. It will, depending on how it's going to do the extraction, it will load information up into what's called the system part of the memory. That's where how the phone operates, because it needs to make a way so that the connection will be made between the device and the cell phone to be able to draw that information out.
So the tool you're using there, you talked about the Celebrite UFED.
Yes.
That's a tool, right?
Yes.
A computer program that you use to, you said, extract or download the data so that you can search it in a user-friendly display. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And that is something that you're able to provide to, say, a district attorney and a defense attorney to be able to search themselves, but it's what you've already downloaded, what you've already extracted.
Yes, and I'll have to clarify that a little bit. So when I do an extraction on a phone, and there's 3 different levels of the extractions, I pull that data out of the phone. It is then processed through the companion software to the UFIT, and that's called Physical Analyzer. So it processes through all the data and then shows in a user-friendly format in the software program text messages, calls, MMS messages, chat logs, pictures, all the different things that are on the phone. I then create a report, and those can be in different formats. And typically what I do is I create that report in what's called the UFED reader format. And then that is what allows anyone else later on to view all that information in that report as if they were me viewing it through my software. It is a self-contained program that's portable. It can run from a CD, DVD, or a thumb drive, and the report, all the information is packaged into one file that the software can't alter in any way, and that allows a case agent, a prosecutor, a defense attorney to open the program up, view everything, search, and then create reports of their own if they want from my original report.
More or less, creating clip notes from a War and Peace. You're sifting through a lot of information, aren't you?
Yes.
Any idea on a standard cell phone for the amount of information that your Cellbrite extraction will actually download and process?
So that usually ranges in phones right now. That ranges anywhere from 2 gigabytes of data on our the small phones that may be smartphones or the non-smartphones, to the largest I've had is about 256 gigabytes from a smartphone that also had additional memory placed into it. So they're very, very large amounts of data. And if you were to take an equivalency of how much data that is, the standard average size Word document, the number of pages that 1 gigabyte would be equal to is almost about 64,000 pages in a Word document.
64,000.
Yes.
So last time I refilled my copy machine, a ream of paper is 500 pages.
Yes.
So you're talking boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes.
Yes, it can be that large.
So this allows you to go through a significant amount of information in a self-contained program.
Yes.
But it's not capable of being altered by someone viewing it, say, at the district attorney's office or Mr. Smart.
No.
Part of the process, your assignment, were you asked to physically analyze or examine cell phones involving the homicide of Laura Barker?
Yes.
What was the first phone that you recall processing? Was it one found at the scene?
I'm not sure where it was found at, but it was an iPhone that I was asked to examine.
And that iPhone, that was again something did you do that analysis on an iPhone differently than you would say on a Samsung or a different brand name?
Yes.
Can you explain to the jury why an iPhone would be a little different?
The way the iPhone's operating system is different from Android, and then the hardware itself, the way it allows for the communication and downloading of its data by our tools. So when it comes to an iPhone, I can use my UFED device as the way to extract the data, or another way is to use that other software I've talked about, Physical Analyzer. I can use it as its method, and what it does is it's using the pathways that iTunes has to back up the data. So Physical Analyzer uses parts of iTunes. I have to have iTunes installed at the same time, and it'll use those paths, whereas if I'm using the UFED device and its software to extract it, then it pulls it out in a little different way. When it comes to like Samsungs, LGs, those that run on Android, the only way I have capability of doing it is using the UFED device itself. I don't use Physical Analyzer. That's only after the fact to analyze, but to actually extract it would be the UFED device.
So part of what you've got to do is you've got to get into the phone to extract the information, then you have to use another tool to sort it and look at it.
Yes.
Judge, may I approach witness? You may. Show Mr. Smart. Some of these exhibits have already been admitted. 27, 25, 24, and 24A. Detective, I'm handing you State's Exhibit 27. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes, this is the packaging for the iPhone that I had examined.
How do you know that?
It has my initials, NID number, and then the date and when I had resealed it.
So you put it back in the bag?
Yes.
after you look at it. Did you take photographs of it while it was out of the bag?
Yes, I did.
Why do you do that?
That's for later on in court so I can identify the phone for testimony.
I'm handing you 3 photographs, which I've marked State's Exhibits 25, 24, and 24A. Could you take a look at those 3? Do you recognize those photographs?
These would be the photographs I took of the iPhone.
Are they fair and accurate representations of the iPhone the day you looked at it?
Yes.
I move to admit that they haven't previously been admitted 24, 25, and I believe 24A.
Okay.
27, 25, 24, and 24A will be admitted.
Commissioner Powers. It'd be easier to just kind of put these out in front of this. What am I looking at? Can you tell me the exhibit number?
This is Exhibit 25, and this is the face of the iPhone.
So if that phone was found laying next to the victim face up, it would be consistent with being a black screen?
Yes.
Can you show me 24?
And 24 would be the backside of the iPhone with the case that was on it.
Difficult to see from the screen, but is that a screen protector or a phone protector that's covering the back of the phone?
It's a case, yes.
Did you take a photograph of the case removed?
Yes.
And is that 24A?
Yes, that would be 24A.
So you were able to download and extract some information from that phone. I'm going to hand you some information. I'm now showing that to Mr. Smart. State's Exhibit 136, 120A, 120B, and photographs 86, 84, and 83. So this is kind of an example of that extraction report we were talking about from the big, gigantic column of information. You're able to identify specific details of value and print individualized reports.
Yes.
Okay. 136, is that, when you flip through it, appear to contain information regarding the phone number 316-821-0684?
Yes.
We've heard testimony previously that that's the phone number at the time of the incident for the father of Sophia. Is State's Exhibit 136 an accurate copy of a text message and image attachment between that iPhone and the phone number I've just given you that ends in 0684?
Yes, it is.
I move to admit State's Exhibit 136. So we look at 136. Are we able to see when an image was sent to Mr. Gonzalez's phone number?
Yes.
What time in the morning was it sent?
It was sent at 7:38 a.m., and that would be local time here to Wichita on 11/17 of 2016.
So after he's left for work, he's receiving a picture from Laura.
Yes.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 86, which is a small photograph I placed near you? Can you compare that with your report to see if that is the same photograph?
Yes, it's the same photograph.
I move to admit State's Exhibit 86 at this time.
That object.
86 will be admitted.
Can you show the jury what is State's Exhibit 86? picture of a sleeping child.
But at this point, I'd like to make a mixed objection. Some of this that you're not seeing may be objectionable, consistent with pre-trial allegations.
So we see it, I don't know it, so it's going to be continuing objection.
Just to clarify, this image right here that we're looking at, State's Exhibit 86, that's not something that that Laura Barkas sends to anyone other than Mr. Gonzalez from what you have in front of you.
Correct.
Just a private message.
Correct.
Next to you is State's Exhibit, probably 120A, does that look right?
Yes.
The extraction report. We previously had admitted State's Exhibit 120, heard testimony from Eric Guzman about his review of an extraction report involving conversation between Laura Barkas' phone and a person designated as Yesenia Sesmas. Does this appear to be similar to that report?
Yes.
That report, State's Exhibit 120, only included information from 11/16 of 2016 through 11/18 of 2016. Is this the complete conversation between the two parties?
Yes.
What is that downloaded from Laura's phone?
Yes.
I move to admit State's Exhibit 120A this time.
There's no object consistent with pre-trial litigation as being part of the part on my client's.
Another true objection, all about required real objections of rule 128A.
Now, we're going to talk in more detail in this conversation, but it's entirely in Spanish, is it?
Yes, it is.
So if you look at State's Exhibit 120, which I've placed in front of you, that appears to be an English translation of those messages.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, based on the stipulation of the parties, the state is going to move to admit State's Exhibit 120B as an English translation of State's Exhibit 128.
Is that correct, Mr. Smart?
Stipulates an accuracy of the translation, Judge, but I think I can extend the objection I made as to 128 and 128.
The objection is noted again on the rule on the same basis of prior rulings on 120B.
I want to, there are two images that are sitting there. Can you tell me what numbers those are?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The two images that you have in your hand. Can you tell me what exhibit stickers they are?
It is Exhibit 83 and 84.
Do those images appear in the WhatsApp conversation between those two parties?
Yes.
Are they fair and accurate depictions of what was two of the images that were sent between the parties?
Yes.
I move this time to admit State's Exhibit 83 and 84 as images found on Laura's phone that were contained in the WhatsApp conversation.
Mr. Smart?
Same objection.
Same ruling based on prior rulings, the objections of 184 and 83.
Let's not publish those yet. We're going to take that at a different time. So if you can set those two images as well as the UFED reports to the side. Let's move now to another phone that you may or may not. I'm showing Mr. Smart. I'm sorry. Take this down. Some of this is already been admitted. State's Exhibit 122. And then a series of photographs. First, what is marked as State's Exhibit 122, also called number 11 on the bag. put a series of photographs there for you and a stack of reports. Let's take this one step at a time. As we unpack this information, what is State's Exhibit 122?
122 is the brown paper sack that's been marked with information about a gray Alcatel one-touch cell phone.
Is that consistent with another phone that you investigated during the course of this homicide investigation?
Yes, let me see. Yes.
One that was submitted to you after it was recovered in Dallas, Texas?
Yeah, I'm not sure where it had been recovered at before it was given to me.
But the case detective, in this case Detective Tennyson, she would have given you that. And just for clarity of the record, Judge, this Detective Tennyson is the same as now Detective Palmer.
Yes.
You're familiar with who she is?
Yes.
So you look at that, that's the phone that you would have examined at her request, but you're not sure where it was located. Which you
Yeah,
examined.
I examined it at her request, yes.
Were you able to extract any information from that phone?
Yes.
Was your process different than your process of examining the iPhone?
Then the iPhone, yes. So,
Can you explain the difference to the jury?
okay, so to give you some foundation there's three different kinds of extractions we can do, or levels, I should say. The first one is called logical. So your phone screen, what you see on the screen, that's the information that we'll get in a logical extraction. So there'll be, like I said, the call logs, text messages, pictures, videos. Sometimes we'll get some chat information. That's kind of dependent. Typically, we will not get any deleted information. So what you see on your screen, because if you've deleted something, you don't want to see it anymore. We usually don't get that in a logical extraction. The next level is called a file system. So all digital devices, for you to be able to see what's on them, they have to keep track of all of their information, and they use the file system to do that. Okay? So the file system extraction extracts out all the folders and the files that are in the cell phone. And this will get us some deleted information dependent on how that information was stored, because most cell phones, both iPhones and the Android phones, they operate by storing information in databases. And those databases, when you decide you want to delete something, what you're doing is telling the database, I don't want to see it anymore, but the entry is still in there. It is just marked not to show you the user anymore. And until later on a process may happen that would clean up that database, those entries are still there. And so as long as the entries are there, we can see the information. The deepest level where I get the most information out of a cell phone is called a physical. So the same way that we typically extract the data from a computer's hard drive, where we get bit for bit. So from the very first bit to the very last bit of the data, that will come out in a physical extraction. And in that physical extraction, we have everything now. So I have all the information that was what is called allocated, so that the file system and the operating system knows where those files are, and I get what's called the unallocated. So that would be stuff that's been deleted, and then the phone itself, its operating system, completely forgot about it. But those files could still be sitting there in the memory, and I can do a process called carving, where we go and find those files in that space and bring them back. And typically in cell phones, that's picture files for the most part we do that with. In this instance, on this Alcatel phone, I got a physical extraction. On the iPhone, ever since the iPhone 4, so after the iPhone 4, my process is I can't get a physical extraction on an iPhone. The deepest I can get is a file system. So their methods are different because of the way, or the amount of data that's pulled in the extraction takes different methods to do it.
So for Laura's phone, you're able to get a file system extraction.
That's correct.
But for this phone in front of you, you're able to get the deepest full extraction, including deleted information.
Correct.
Let's turn for a moment to, were you able to identify the phone number associated with this alphabet?
Yes.
It would help you if you look at State's Exhibit 97A. Would that information be contained in that report?
Yes.
Is 97A an extraction from the alphabet?
Yes.
Does it relate what phone number was involved or assigned to that alphabet?
Yes, the phone number assigned is 316-689-1026.
So if we've heard information that links that phone number with the defendant, Yesenia Sesmas, is it easier if I just refer to that as Sesmas' phone?
Okay, yes.
So you're looking at that. Did you take photographs of the phone similar to how you did photographs of Laura's phone?
Yes.
If you look in that packet, there should be 3 photographs on the top. Mark State's Exhibit 81, 81A, and 81B. Do you find those 3?
Yes.
Are those your photographs of Sesmas' phone?
Yes.
I've moved to admit State's Exhibits 81, 81A, and 81B.
Jack, this is some of our pre-trial motion.
You know, with the objection, rule to adopt an objection to the rule.
Could you show us State's Exhibit 81, please? It's the front of the phone.
Yes.
81A, please. Back to the phone, showing Alcatel One Touch.
Yes.
81B, please. That doesn't appear to look like a phone. Where was that taken?
So this is the label that's underneath the battery, in the battery compartment.
Oh, so if I pop off the back of a phone, that's what's written on the inside of the phone?
Yes.
And does that give you information? That just gives you some more detailed information about the phone, right?
Yes, because it has, each of the phones typically in the label will have a specific identifying number for that device.
Is that called a IMEI number?
Yes, that is.
We heard testimony from T-Mobile about a subscriber that had information regarding number 014769001616932. Does that number appear to match the IMEI number of the Alcatel?
Yes.
So that historical data that we heard from T-Mobile and from Joe Dana from the FBI, that's about this phone, Sesmas' phone.
Yes.
We also heard from Mr. Dana about some analysis he was able to do based on historical data and GPS documents, or GPS coordinates. Do you have the ability to find device location data on a phone search?
Yes.
Is that what is contained on State's Exhibits 97 and 97A?
Yes.
And are those extraction reports from Sesmas' phone?
Yes.
I move to admit State's Exhibits 97 at this time, 97A.
Vince Jackson asked for a standing objection to the pre-trial litigation.
Objections noted, same basis as
So 97A, does that give you device location data as to a specific date?
Yes.
Where, what date is that data located for?
11/15 of 2016.
Does the device extraction report give you an opportunity to create a map of where those GPS coordinates are?
Yes.
Is that what contained in State's Exhibit 97?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate copy of the data from your report, but just put into map form?
Yes.
Would it assist your testimony to show that to the jury?
Yes.
I move to admit State's Exhibit 97 this time.
Same objection.
Objection noted, overruled, 97 to be admitted.
Could you please publish 97 to the jury? Can you scoop that up just a little bit? There we go. That's a map showing 11/15/2016. Is that approximately the Dallas metropolitan area?
Yes.
So the phone, the details you're able to pull from it on 11/15/2016 is in Dallas.
Yes.
You don't know who's got the phone, but you know the phone's in Dallas.
Yes.
Were you able to get extraction details on a report similar to what we described for the next day, the 16th, 2016?
Yes.
Is that contained in State's Exhibit 98A?
Yes, it is.
Is a map created from those details as State's Exhibit 98?
Yes.
Again, all is created from your extraction report, all the details of that map created from your extraction report.
That is correct.
I move to admit State's Exhibits 98 and 98A.
Object to both and ask for a standing objection pursuant to appropriate law regulation.
You have a standing objection. Objections are overruled, the crime reflects 98 and 98 to be admitted.
Could you display 98? Can you move that up just a little bit? Maybe hard approach, if I may, Judge. I'm going to direct your attention to the screen here. It's a little hard, but the jury will have the benefit of the map themselves. I'm pointing at a red dot in the middle of the screen. What is the red dot?
It's a pin drop, or not a pin drop, it's a location marker in the Google Earth for a spot.
Is that given an address, or did you give an address to 215 Brunswick Street?
Yes.
That being the apartment where Laura was shot and killed?
Yes.
And I see a yellow pin nearby with two date ranges, 11/16/2016 with 1:51 p.m. and 12:41 p.m. Same dot or same pin?
Yes.
So based on the location data, that report is telling you that that phone was used in very close proximity to Laura Barker's home.
Objection, leading.
Rephrase the question.
Can you draw any conclusions based upon that data set? Does it tell you where the phone was being used in relation to 215 Brunswick?
Yeah, those two data sets are within the close proximity of 215 Brunswick Street.
In your report, 98A, there are 5 images that are also contained in that, which we will eventually get to, but those 5 images, does your report indicate that they were captured at a specific time?
Yes.
Is that information that, again, your extraction tools are able to tell you from looking at the information behind the photograph?
Yes.
So if you could explain to the jury, when I take a photograph with my phone, is my phone recording what I'm doing? How does it know what I'm doing?
In the instance of taking a photograph?
Right.
Yeah, so most modern cameras, which will include the smartphones and then even your point-and-shoot cameras, they will record what's called EXIF data, and that's information about the device that took the picture. So in the case of like this phone, it was recording its the model number, and then it says the camera make. So sometimes that camera make will come from the manufacturer of the device, and sometimes that information will come from the manufacturer of the camera device that's inside the phone. And then it'll also record the date it was captured and the time, and if it is turned on the device, It'll record location data on some devices, which used to be defaulted on for smartphones, but now usually it's an option that the user has to do. And then it'll record information about the picture itself, its pixel size, what white balance there was, what the focal range was, all sorts of different information will get recorded. And all that data is stored inside the picture file itself. It's called metadata. And all metadata is data about data. So it's data inside of the file telling us later on information about that file itself.
So the tools that you utilize to do these reports is able to read the metadata.
Yes.
And it's able to extract and say, this photograph was taken at a specific date and time.
Yes.
So those 5 photographs, which appear to be of an infant, were they taken consistent with where that yellow pin prick in the middle of the map next to 215 Brunswick Street, same basic range of time?
Yes.
We're going to come back to those photographs, but I want to turn your attention to that big stack of photographs that I handed you. I'll direct your attention now to State's Exhibit 130A, which I believe is an extraction report. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think I stayed here at the top. That contained approximately 45 images that you located on Sesmas's phone.
Yes, it does.
And are those images, were they physically on the phone?
Yes.
I think we'll go through this one at a time to kind of better assist with understanding when they were taken and where they were located. But is this report a fair and accurate report based upon your examination of Sesmas's phone?
Yes.
I move to amend State's Exhibit 130A at this time.
Judge, we object and ask for a standing objection consistent with our pretrial litigation.
Just 130A.
130A.
Under the objection, overrule on rules of the trial, rules 130A.
Now I want you to look at that stack of photographs that I put in front of you. Some of them are going to be of different sizes. We kind of cut them to look just like they are depicted in your report. You had an opportunity to review them.
Yes.
Are they all fair and accurate photographs of files with images you found on Sesmas's phone?
Yes.
Judge, I'm going to have to apologize because these are not ordered the way that I would like, but I'm going to have to move to it this time. State's Exhibit 140, 141, 142, 87,
I'm sorry.
87, 88, 82, 139, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147, 148, 96, 98, then 100 through 112, inclusive, 113A and 113 as images in this report.
What was the number for the 100 to 112 inclusive?
98.
99 through
140 something, but it kept the last digit.
sorry, 148 was the last of the high numbers, then 96, then 90,
After 113A.
113.
She had those all written down, Mr. Smart?
All of them.
Any objections?
All of them, Judge. We ask
Same
to
guesses?
reject all of them pursuant to our pretrial litigation and ask for standing objection.
Understanding objection, well, the rule is not required of rules. All of these will be admitted.
let's go through these.